friends. Sarah and I are still mulling over this. We want the poem and the meaning we come to it to be the right answer.
Right.
And that's not always the way it works. Certainly, when we say something like word Aquinas, truth himself speaks truly, or there's nothing true. Okay, that's a pretty straightforward. That if you can't trust God to tell the truth, then you can't trust God for anything else. Right, right. But the shower of roses business with Therese of Lisieux, now that's going to be a different story. So let us go to page 289. Because what does that mean? And how that manifests is going to be personal and to each one. So to scatter flowers, language of flowers, that's an ancient metaphor for transcendent ideas. And for, as you know, Garden of Grace is one of the reasons. Therese famously promises a shower of roses. This selection was written a year before her painful, suffering death. Yes, her dark night of the soul. This is written in her dark night of the soul. And she's using metaphors of the metaphor of flowers as her language of love, speaking to God and the things she offers up to God. And so I remember being in a class on Therese. Actually, it was an old professor at the Mount who was talking to me about this and how that there's a stumbling block for some, not for all, but for some. Remember that analogy with the music. Some hear music, and it just resonates. Others say, oh my gosh, what are these people thinking? Same can be true with that first encounter with Therese. And with some minds, perhaps masculine minds, but I kind of had that same reaction as well. You hear all this flower talk, and it sounds a little syrupy. It can. It can. For others, they don't know what you're talking about. But I do know. Until you start to decipher a little bit her language of flowers, and that she's offering things up. So when she's giving flowers to our Lord, she's really offering up, say, her intense suffering, the tuberculosis, the suffering, the removal of Christ's presence. Right. She's having a profound dark night of the soul. And so you start to get a little, that's where a guidebook like this, or a good commentary like the ICS, the Institute of Carmelite Studies, a book, when they put something out, they'll usually have some helps. And then even with this, she has helps, glossary, definitions, things of that nature. So, okay. So enough of that. Therese, translated from French by S.L. Emery. O Jesu, O my love, each eve I come to fling before thy sacred cross sweet flowers of all the year. By these plucked petals bright, my hands how gladly bring. I long to dry thine every tear. To scatter flowers, that means each sacrifice. My lightest sighs and pains, my heaviest, saddest hours, my hopes, my joys, my prayers, I will not count the price. Behold my flowers. With deep untold delight, thy beauty fills my soul. Would I might light this love in hearts of all who live. For this, my fairest flowers, all things in my control, how fondly, gladly I would give. To scatter flowers, behold my chosen sword, for saving sinner souls and filling heaven's bowers. The victory is mine. Yes, I disarm thee, Lord, with these my flowers. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought we were at the end, but I can see I couldn't contain myself. The petals, the petals in their flight caress thy holy face. And her holy face, remember that's her title. That's her title. They tell thee that my heart is thine and thine alone. Thou knowest what these leaves are saying in my place. On me thou smilest from thy throne. See, now that's personal. What he's talking to her personally. To scatter flowers, that means to speak of thee. My only pleasure here, where tears fill all the hours. That's her, she's dying. But soon with angel hosts, my spirit shall be free to scatter flowers. Very profound. Very, very, very profound.
It is. I mean, and in that, like you were saying, there's a very childlike simplicity. All of us have an image of the little flower girl at every wedding, right? Just merrily scattering, these petals, and never having herself, in her innocence, counted the 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 radicalness that required the separation of the petal from the stem, right? So that it could be so that it could metaphorically, right, be scattered, or literally be scattered. But you lose that metaphor, and here, you see Therese almost in the same sense, right, having to not just adore the little cute metaphor, but herself recognizing through each individual suffering what it cost, right, to pluck the flower from the stem, right, so that she could scatter them. There was a real connection for her, a very intense personal connection for her, that knew the pain, shall we say, of the separation of the flower from the root. And she did really profoundly feel that. And yeah, I mean, the depth there is, I mean, it's very cheerful. I mean, like, you can also see it very sweetly, right? It's a very charming metaphor, but at its depth, when you meditate, it's why she's a doctor, right?
It is why she's a doctor. And that's once, if someone has some sort of a first encounter embrace. Everyone talks about Therese. Therese this, Therese that, doctor of the church. And you come and you read this without any background of what's going on, then it might come off syrupy. But when she says, but soon with angel hosts, my spirit shall be free.
Right.
And now to scatter flowers, that's that roses from heaven concept. And the tuberculosis, and with every breath she talk, and her sister, who's the mother superior there, has asked her to write the memoirs, and the sisters are just stunned. These nuns are stunned, and now we're starting to get into where was John Paul's mind when he made her a doctor of the church, right? And co-patroness of Europe.
Right.
Okay. Up, Sarah, we're going to have to take up Carol Hauslander, the read, in the next episode, and we don't want to be skinny about that either. All right, my friends. Till then, Fides et Ratio.